welcome to country. And I would also like to acknowledge the Wadawurrung people as the traditional owners of this land, as well as all First Nations people joining us here today. The Geelong Library Corporation is all about culture, and storytelling. And we are, in the very, very early stages of our journey towards working with our First Nations people, and we acknowledge you today and thank you for the work that you're doing with us as we learn and listen, and we know that we can be doing much more in the space of storytelling in a respectful way. So thank you, Corrina. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Member of Parliament, our local Member of Parliament, Christine Cousins, State Member for Geelong, and of course Parliamentary Secretary for First Peoples. And Christine was with us here in this room a couple of weeks ago for the Yes Forum, and we're very proud to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you. I begin by acknowledging the original owners and the lands in which we gather today, the Wadawurrung people, and pay my respects to ancestors past, present and future, and acknowledge all Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people here today, and thank them for their care of our beautiful lands and waterways. Can I also thank and acknowledge Corrina, that beautiful welcome to country, and I'll always say it's a great privilege to have you share culture with us in our community. It's not that long ago that we would not have seen these sorts of events throughout our community. With the progress that we have made in Geelong has been extraordinary, and a lot of that is thanks to events like this. So I do want to thank Vanessa and her team here at the Geelong Libraries Corporation for the work that they do in ensuring that we do have the opportunities to learn about the Wadawurrung culture, but also about First Peoples across this country, which is really important. And, we, in a few months' time, will be going to a referendum on the voice to Parliament in this country. Should First Nations people be recognised in our Constitution? Should they have a voice to the Parliament? Yes, of course they should. And I'm sure that many of you here would agree with that today. So we need to make sure that wherever we go, we promote the yes vote for the up-and-coming referendum. And if people have questions, they should ask those questions. I'd also like to acknowledge, of course, Melissa Caldwell, Councillor, the City of Greater Geelong, and thank her for her passion and commitment to the community. And I know it's been a bit of a rough journey of late, but I do thank you personally for the work that you do. It's amazing. And of course to Vanessa and the team here, as I said earlier, the work that they do here is extraordinary, and a huge thanks to you and your team. And of course to the amazing panel, which we'll hear from very shortly. But I do ask that we walk softly on Wadawurrung Country. We have a lot to learn about First Peoples culture, and I'm really excited to be here today to hear about language in particular. So thank you all for your commitment. And the Local Word Writers Festival highlights the breadth of local writing talent in our region. This is a fantastic lineup of presentations, panel discussions and conversations that we'll hear. These sessions will bring our local writing communities together to celebrate this region's incredible wealth of creative talent. Diversity, inclusion and accessibility are core values that underpin the Local Word program, offering something for writers of all ages, experience and backgrounds. So congratulations to everyone participating in this program. And a huge thanks again to the Geelong Regional Libraries, to Vanessa and the team. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Corrina, for your kind words. So before I start, I just do have to mention our sponsor. So very, very quick thank you to Belinda Borrowbox Audio, who supply our ebooks. And just a fact of interest, Geelong Regional Library Corporation is the highest user of e-collection ebooks for Borrowbox in Victoria. So that is a testament to the great thirst for reading and learning in our region. And so now, thank you. It is my great pleasure to introduce Councillor Miss Melissa Caldwell, who is our Deputy Chair of the Geelong Regional Library Corporation Board. And thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you, Christine. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're sitting and on which we tell stories, the Wadawurrung people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and to any First Nations people who may be here today. And of course, thank you to Corrina. It's the first opportunity I've had to meet Corrina in person, but I've been to many, many events and I'm always inspired by the beautiful stories and the way that you are so respectful about country. It's really inspiring. So good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Caldwell and I am your local elected councillor for the Brownbill Ward, which incorporates 21 suburbs in the central Geelong area and the inner north and the inner south. So if you live in one of those suburbs, I'm your councillor. Do get in touch if you have anything and if you need to talk to me about any council matters. And as Vanessa mentioned, I'm also the Deputy Chair of the Geelong Regional Library Corporation Board, which is a position I really am very excited to be holding, and I have a great relationship with Vanessa. I think she does an amazing job here at the library, and I think testament to all of you being here today. So it is my very great pleasure to be here today to officially launch the second day of the second annual Local Word Writers Festival. I understand that yesterday was a day of workshops held across the 5 local government areas serviced by the Geelong Regional Library Corporation, but today is a celebration of bringing everyone together in this one location here at the wonderful Wadawurrung. So welcome. The Local Word Writers Festival has been created to support and foster the growing local talent of aspiring, emerging and established writers in our region, of which we are blessed to have many. In total, the Local Word Writers Festival will see 12 events running, featuring 25 local authors and creatives, all of whom hail from the Geelong 21 region, the G21 region. So it's a hyper-local and very creatively focused event which helps to bring together diverse local writing communities to collaborate, share and learn. And now I'd like to introduce formally the panel chair, local author Sue Lawson. Sue Lawson writes books for children and young adults. Her books have won the Australian Family Therapists Award for Children's Literature and been shortlisted for the Prime Minister's Literary Awards and the Children's Book Council of Australia Book of the Year Awards. Sue also collaborates with Boonwurrung elder Auntie Faye Muir, and their books include acclaimed picture books Respect and Family, the first 2 books in the Margabala book Our Place series. Sue's latest and 31st book, You Matter, a collaboration with another Geelong author and healer, Sue Hindle, came out earlier this year. And finally, thank you to the Geelong Regional Library Corporation for hosting this important session, a panel discussion on the wonderful Songtimes on Wadawurrung Country songbook. And thank you to all of you for attending. And please join me now in welcoming Sue Lawson.
Hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to acknowledge the Wadawurrung people as traditional owners of this beautiful land on which we live, work and play, and acknowledge elders past, present and those from the future, not from the future, but those future elders. I'd also like to acknowledge Wadawurrung people as the traditional storytellers of this land, which is very dear to my heart. Now our panel today is Songtimes on Wadawurrung Country. We're going to be talking about this beautiful book that's been written in collaboration with our panellists. And at the end of the session, in about 40 minutes' time, there'll be opportunities to ask as many questions as you want. Now, one thing my dear friend and collaborator and partner in crime, she's a very wicked but scary woman for those of you who don't know her, Auntie Faye Muir always says, ask the question. You're not going to learn otherwise. So please ask whatever you'd like to of our panel. Know they'll be very happy to answer those questions. So let's meet the panel. You've met the amazing Corrina already. Corrina Eccles, I'm lucky enough to do a lot of travelling, and I see a lot of welcome to countries. None make me feel as grounded and peaceful and just, I don't want to just stop, so I keep going, as Corrina's. They're beautiful. She's a proud Wadawurrung woman, as you know, living and working on Wadawurrung Country and Geelong. It's really nice today, actually. Auntie Faye isn't going to be here rolling her eyes at me when I pronounce things wrong. Just hoping Corrina doesn't take up the mantle on that one. I try. Corrina is manager of the cultural education for Wadawurrung Traditional Owners Aboriginal Corporation, and that is a registered Aboriginal party, or RAP, under the Aboriginal Heritage Act of 2006. And Corrina today, if you see me poke her, she's been in Darwin all week. She's had 4 hours sleep. So if I lean across and give her a whack, it's not that, you know, there's some violent thing happening. I'm just keeping her awake. So please welcome Corrina to our panel. Out of whacking distance is Caldwell. Kelly teaches First Nations studies at Queenscliff Primary School. She, with Ben, who you'll meet in a minute, and Wadawurrung Traditional Owners, have united to write and record 5 songs and stories to teach children and adults Wadawurrung language and, of course, culture as well. The lyrics, chords and songs are available in this beautiful book, Songtimes on Wadawurrung Country, and you'll be seeing a lot of that today. Please welcome Kelly. And way down the end, I could throw something at him, but I certainly can't reach him, is Ben Shaw. Ben is a permaculturist, a songwriter and a musician. He's passionate about creating connections and resilience in communities and growing food in the urban environment. He's established a permacultural design and consultancy business, assisting local community and organisations to implement regenerative change. He also established Farm My School, which is a cracker. So please welcome Ben. So let's start with Corrina, and let's start with Wadawurrung language. I've been lucky enough to join Corrina for a fabulous workshop she did here at the library, and so I've heard 2 hours of description, which is only like a drop in the ocean of Wadawurrung language. So I'm giving Corrina 5 minutes to tell us about Wadawurrung language and why it's such a beautiful sounding language.
Yatni, thanks Sue, and thanks for your nice words. Yes, I live and breathe language every day, but I have just returned from Darwin where we've just held the Pulama Indigenous Language Conference. There was 1,000 people and about 800 First Nations people there, learning about everything that's happening right across the world in First Nations languages, and hearing about the languages that are sleeping and the languages that are going to sleep as well. Currently there's only 13 languages left that are fluently spoken, which is sad. Yes, we have digital technology of today. So
Corrina, there was something like 250 to 500.
Yes, there was. So it's really sad. We revive language. So I have just studied for over 3 years. I was very fortunate. The Victorian government supported traditional owners of Victoria to study a Cert 3 and Cert 4 in language, revival of endangered Victorian Aboriginal languages, and with that study we received a certificate to be able to teach it in the Victorian curriculum, and I currently teach that. Moolat Primary School is the only school on Wadawurrung Country that are having it taught as their first language as their LOTE. And I'm very fortunate that I get to do that. So Wadawurrung language, it's not a written language, so when you do see things that are written different at times, be mindful that we don't discourage anyone for that, because written is a European thing. It's not a First Nations thing that we wrote language. It's about deep listening. Well, our dictionary is actually our country. So it's not a book, it's a country. and that is the foundation of our language. So many things that our language starts with the body. So our country is a body, it is our mother's body, and that's where our language comes from. So many things that depict the body will carry that name. So we are gathered here in Geelong, and Geelong means tongue of land. If you're from down the surf coast, we have Bells Beach, which is Jirak, which is the arm. So many things represent the body. The Werribee River, Werribee is spine, so that's the spine of the country. Narramilli, which we'll hear a song about Narramilli, so Nari is hair, many things, Nara is knowledge, so many things will carry something. So whatever it is on our body that has that same reference, we'll carry that word as well. And if we think of, hills and hilltops and things like that as well. So from one language word carries a story. And all these places across this beautiful Wadawurrung Country all had a language name. Like, we didn't depict them like we do today as Leopold and, Norlane and those areas. That's, been brought on us. But where there was change of landscape is when a different name would come into those areas. And we are working hard to return traditional names, and I have been at Bowenheads at 6 o'clock this morning because we have officially announced that we're replacing the Ocean Grove Spit name with Bukariu, and it's registered, and now that is the name of that Ocean Grove Spit area, and we've just launched that this morning, which has been exciting. Yeah. And we had about 250 people that got there early at 7 o'clock this morning for that announcement. We have we've got many of our elders down here back on country this weekend, and we're all over country this weekend, and many of those conversations are about language. So we have many challenges with language. We do have the language app that many of you will be aware of, which is some of our basic words that for you. Then we have language words that are for us. Now, language does belong to us. You need to source permission if you want to use language and talk it and use the app in basic things. But if you go further than that, you need, as a respectful thing, you need to contact and ask permission. And we're hoping through treaty and other things, which we've seen in Canada, the model in Canada, that it's part of the legislation, the rightful right, it belongs to traditional owners, and having that respect and that recognition of that language. But it's more important. What I give people examples often is, Moolap is a Wadawurrung name, Jeringhap, Yarra, Mallup, Murrabul, they're all Wadawurrung names. And how many of you people live here and don't know that those street names are names, but they all tell significant stories. Moolap, if we were Bunjul's eyes flying over, it's shaped like a man's spearhead. But also the tails of the stingray, which is shaped like a spear, were also used on the top of the men's spearhead, and it's a place of stingray too. It's a place of men fishing. So imagine seeing a sign that says this Moolap and what the story is of Moolap. If you were entering the Ballawin, Bended Elbow, by the fire, and having those rich stories come back to you as you're going into these places. So this is what we're hoping to achieve. It's been a great, we're here for Songtimes, but I just want to, embedding this into our young people's lives. They're going home and teaching their families, and that's what we're loving. Many of you have missed these opportunities in education, and we're seeing things really change in that, and they're the future. And I say, if our 4 to 12-year-olds could vote, we'd be fine. Yes, but they are the future, and language is vital to connect children for respect and caring for country.
Corrina, with that, because languages are sleeping and they're being reclaimed, and the idea is that the First Nations people learn it first. Yep. As a non-First Nations person, can I say Nutney? Can I take on that using pieces of language?
You definitely can. The word we don't allow you to use is Kimbani Wadawurrung. We don't allow you to welcome people to this country. That is the word that is for us to orally welcome people to country as part of our ceremonies of welcoming people to country. But the language that we have on the app, we encourage you all to use. And yeah, words like nyatni and gulbada, take care, are great ways of starting. And every time you say that around someone that hasn't heard it before, it becomes a story and a telling, and you're educating, and you're helping us revive language, helping us,
And one final thing on language, about pronunciation. Does it matter if you butcher it? Your intentions are good and you're trying, but I butcher.
Oh, it's a very long journey, and we don't. No one should discourage anyone, because we've got to look at it as like babies speaking. How it starts and how the linguist works, and for us at an older age it's much harder because we have been trained with English, whereas we use the different dialects and movements with our mouth. So I can no longer really say THs and SHs and CHs, but that's a good thing. Because they're not in our Wadawurrung language. And my first granddaughter, I taught language to her as a baby, and of course she struggles now to say the English TH and SH and CH, and as much as it might be a challenge in this westernised education system, to me I smile, because she's actually learnt naturally mother tongue language first. But
what do you do when they, because if being an ex-teacher, I can hear them now, perhaps we're to get that child to a speech therapist. What do you do? Because she's actually using her first language.
Yeah, so it's when kids are little, and this has been a challenge from a baby and been protecting her, and this is all she knows. She doesn't know any different. And there's no daycare or anything like that. And then when it was time for her to go to kinder, I got quite scared. She's going to be challenged. She didn't know a magpie was called a magpie. She knew it as pawang. She didn't know a crow was a crow. She knew it as wah. And I'm like, oh dear, she's going to be challenged. I'm petrified now. And I chose a certain kinder for that reason. I knew she'd be culturally safe, and they were using language in that kinder, and she's gone to that kinder. But what I didn't understand is that she'll become a teacher, and she has taught the other children, and that's beautiful. So she'll soon, learn the SH and CHs. And just on that, I have my middle granddaughter. Yes, I have 5 grandchildren in 6 years. I've been gifted 5 grandchildren. So the middle granddaughter is free, and she's non-verbal. And when these songs come out, she sings Na Millie.
Oh,
Na, na, na. She can't, she's non-verbal, but she can sing Na Millie. And yeah, it brought me to tears. And so we there's so much more that these songs and that have brought to Wadawurrung Country, and of course the children that they're embedded in. Yeah. I do walk into my granddaughter's kinder as well, and they're playing it every morning. So it's as simple as play these songs before the bell rings, play the songs in between the bell and while the children are running to class. There's so many ways that this music can be embedded.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Kelly,
Yes.
what got you going? You can rest now if you like, Corrina. You can close your eyes. No, you don't. No, don't mean that at all. I'll keep thinking of poor love. Kelly, why this book? What made you go, I want to do this?
Well, there's quite a few things sort of happened prior to the book. My whole education, I really had no First Nations perspectives woven into any of my education really whatsoever. I remember as being 8 years old in a grade 3 classroom being read, the story of the rainbow serpent, and being told that First Nations people had lived here, and I remember going, well, where are they? And it was never touched on again. It wasn't touched on in my secondary schooling, wasn't even touched on in my tertiary education. To become a teacher, and there was no, in the schools that I worked in, there was really no propulsion to do anything in that area. And so then I went on maternity leave after having worked as a teacher for 12 years or so, and whilst I was on maternity leave, I wanted to do some professional reading because I was just in the day-to-day doing mum business, and I just wanted to feel like I had some sort of brain rattling around in there. And I found something called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Curricula Project, which was written by a panel of Aboriginal professionals working out of Melbourne University. And they were just units of work that any teacher could use in a classroom from ages grade 3 to year 12. And I just read them and I thought, this is something I can do. And I had trust in it because it was written by First Nations peoples. It wasn't written by a non-First Nations person, which is unfortunately sometimes what you find. And so I went down to my local primary school and I said, oh, look, can I just volunteer for 1 year unpaid? Can I just teach this to one class? And then just promise me that at the end of that we'll sit down and have a discussion. That's all I want at the end, is just to have a discussion. And in that time I also went down to our local historical museum, of which there was lots of stuff about when European people came to the area. And there was a little, in the whole museum, there were 2 little display folders about that big that had newspaper articles in there about some First Nations people that had been living in the area, but nothing, no history, nothing was there. And so the principal of the school at that time said, yep, come and teach the children. And after a year of just teaching that, the school backed me and the school council and said, okay, because I wanted to push to make it its own specialist subject at school. And
Kelly, it's brave, which sounds silly, but most teachers, and I taught for a long time, finished about 10 years ago as a classroom teacher, I find teachers are terrified of First Nations teaching because they don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome that? Because that must have been there. Because I know when I was first met Auntie Faye and we first started writing together, I was like, oh my God, what if I get it wrong? And it was her trust that made me go, you're going to get it wrong and it's fine. It's the fact that you want to learn and you're moving. It's a journey. So how was it for you going, I'm going to do this?
A couple of things. So I straight away I got a CESO, which is a Career Education Support Officer. So I was able to connect with them and they pretty much guided me with any sort of question I had around content or anything really. So that was the first thing. Also, I knew that my intentions were in the right place. It wasn't for pats on the back. It was really just for our children need to be well educated. And being a mother, I didn't want to be... I wanted to be doing something valuable that I in some way hope would affect the education of my 2 children, even though they don't go to the same school that I work at. So it was really connecting with First Nations people first and foremost, using only content that was written by First Nations authors or professionals. And so that takes a lot of guesswork out of it. And then if you're unsure, ask a question. Or if you're unsure, first of all, say nothing, write an email and get a response before you're touching on those things, because you don't want to get it wrong. But I just think life's too short to be sitting around and thinking, oh, this is a good idea, and then just having it on a piece of paper.
Yep.
So
can we bottle you and take you to every school?
Anyway, so after a while, we had a First Nations assembly at school to celebrate some of the learning, of which I had connected with some of the professionals working out of Melbourne University. One of them being an absolute dynamite of a person. Her name's, she's an associate professor, her name's Melita Hogarth, and she said, Callie, if you're teaching this stuff, there has to be an element of language to this. And she said, could you how are you going to teach language? And I said, well, you know, I'm a non-First Nations person, so what do I do? And she said, I wonder what about just some, you know, little jingles or little songs, like heads, shoulders, knees and toes, but not that. And she's just sort of left me with it, and I've always tried to instill in children to have a go. So I think it's really important to model that behaviour, regardless of what the outcome may be. So we were in our veggie garden. We share a veggie.
So you and Ben knew each other before.
Ben and I were in the veggie garden on my parents-in-law's property, which is a big vegetable garden with a few families that share. And he was sharing with me a song that he'd written with his daughter that was about beetroot and the effect that it has on one's bowel movements.
And what was it called? Because I love the name.
It was called Pinky Purple Poo, the name of the song. And I said, mate, that is great. It's great. And I said, look, I've been thinking about writing some songs with the use of the Wadawurrung app. Can you give me a hand? It's really just something I would like, ideally, to have something that can help me. Someone that does not speak language, someone that does not know any language at all. I need something to bring to the table for these children. We have to do something small. And in my eyes, being a mother, I'm like, songs, that makes sense. That's something that can stay in your brain. Can you give me a hand?
The Wiggles is all I've got to say. It does stay in your brain.
Yeah. So then Ben came over for a cup of tea, and the first... I'd had a go at writing some songs really simply, and we sort of looked through it, and then Ben looked at this one word, and he said, how do we say this word? And we got the app, and it said Ngā Mili. And he said, Ngā Mili, that's a great word. That should be a song. And out of nowhere, he just goes...
And what does Ngā Mili...
Ngā Mili means to dance, of course. Sorry, I forget that I'm saying. And so then Ben goes... Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili. Out of nowhere, I was like, that's good. And so we had a name of 5, and we wrote them down. We wanted to show the Wadawurrung that this was something that we wanted to use in classrooms. Mm-hmm. So
before we get to that, I'm just going to jump to Ben.
Yep. Ben,
when Kelly first said to you, would you help me write these songs, what was your reaction? Because I know your background is similar to mine and Kelly's, in that you didn't have the knowledge from it as a child, it came later.
Yeah, I admit I was probably nervous about doing it, but I'd known Kel for quite a while through the farm, and you can just see how genuine she was. And I think what she touched on was, you know, we can sit around, and I'd come from a sort of background of talking a lot about, you know, First Nations and caring about that and wanting to do more, but not really having an opportunity to do so. So when the opportunity, Cal sort of said, would you like to be involved? I was like, yeah, of course, because I think we have to sort of stand up and do these things now, as a non-First Nations person. So, but I was nervous at first, yeah.
Yeah, we were all nervous. We were definitely nervous.
But I think if you, especially as creators, when you're nervous, it's good because it means something to you.
Yeah.
And so you sent it to Corrina.
Yeah.
Corrina, what happened when you saw, obviously not the finished book, when the songs came and you listened? What happened? What did you think?
Yeah, so the Kezo had reached out to me and told me about the work that Kelly was doing, and that she was following a framework that had been written by First Nations people. Normally the process would be consultation first, but Kelly and them delivered the product that they'd done, but the product hadn't been released. and they come to us with the product. And when I listened to it, and I was like, these are absolutely wonderful. We have sort of our own songs which are basic that we use when we go into schools and teach Wadawurrung language as Wadawurrung people. But all the songs were connected to the app. We then just help with a little bit of support with some of the pronunciation and stories, and changed a little bit of some of the storylines a little bit, so they were connected with cultural stories and things like that as well, and embedded cultural stories to them as well. So so then we went on a massive journey, and you see the end product, which is a book, but like I said, Country is the book. Language belongs to country, and language is spoken to the country, and every traditional owner group has their own language, so it's a big part of identity as well, and it's a part of identity of this land and this country. If you cross that Werribee River, it's a different language over there. So what we were seeing in kindergartens and schools, that they're all using, Inanay Kapawana. Hey, it's not Wadawurrung language, but schools were just thriving for something to embed. They're being told and they're being pressured that to add these cultural perspectives into frameworks and planning, and so they were grasping what they could, but it wasn't culturally appropriate. Like some of those songs, Rainbow Serpents, they're not in Wadawurrung Country. We shouldn't be teaching kids about rainbow serpents. If you do, tell them where they're from and where the story's from. This is sort of what was happening. So trying to see stuff that is specifically belongs to this country and about this country is absolutely vital.
Did it make you emotional to see that this had been done
It did, yeah.
for children?
It did, yeah. And a lot of work. These guys put the work in with their expertise of music and knowledge. And I know Kelly talks about not being a singer, but now a singer, and she still probably won't recognise. I know what that's like too. I have the squeakiest worst voice, and I've always got to sing language. Soon someone else has to take over, please. Music's the best way to learn language. So if you can sing language, is how you first learn it. So even when you're using the like Narramilli, but if you go Narramilli, it's much easier to sing words to start learning language. So the best way to teach is by putting it into songs and teaching it that way. When I heard them, straight away, you talked about the Wiggles. Wait till you hear this. You think the Wiggles get stuck in your head. This gets stuck in your head. Yesterday, even I'm in Darwin, I said, tomorrow I've got to do the Songtimes. No, and then an hour later, I said to my cousin, I'm still singing Narramilli. And she teaches it as well. When we teach it at Moolap Primary School, which we use songs in our teaching curriculum that we deliver in that as well. But they'll get stuck in your head. They're repetitive. They're so engaged for kindergarten and primary school age children, and it's making a difference.
I can't imagine what it would be like. So if your granddaughter, or for a First Nations person, particularly a Wadawurrung person in Kelly's class, and sings that song, or at Corrina, because I know they use it at Corrina College. If you're sitting there and, wow, this is my language, I can't begin to imagine how that must feel.
And with kids, even the age of 3, if they're able to learn effectively the language of the land on which they live at 3, and they can sing a song and realise that there was a language that was spoken fluently, it just plants that little seed of thought and curiosity around that. So then when they're 5 or when they're 15, they just start asking a few more questions and become more curious around the history of this place that we live. Because that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do, is encourage curiosity around that, so that the children can effectively drive the truth.
The truth.
Learning about the truth.
Because we've messed it up big time, our generation. We're hoping, sorry guys, it's you kids that have to do it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it'll start on the 14th, if that's going to be the date. Anyway, where was I going to go with that before I got on my very high horse? With the songs, how did you test them with the kids to make sure they worked with the kids?
No, I think it's important to say before we, when we sent the songs to the Wadawurrung Traditional Owners Corporation, we had every intention. We were asking three things really. Number one, is the pronunciation of the words correct? If I was to use them in my little classroom, is the pronunciation correct? What was the other thing? We were wanting the permission to use those in the classroom. Is it okay if we were to use them just as a teaching tool? And thirdly, would you be interested in really what we were wanting was some partnership to build something together to provide for children, to give to kids. So that was really important that we made that distinction, because we had every intention, if any of the answers of those questions were no, then the whole project idea can come off the table, because it's not our language. So it's just important to make that point.
Yeah.
Can I just add on that?
Please.
You need funding. You need money to do something like this. And that was a challenge. So wrote up a submission for some community grants and put that submission in. And I said to Kelly, look, we'll be successful. This is Wadawurrung Country. This has never happened. This council have early years settings. They're going to grasp this. We'll have no problems. We'll get this off the ground. We'll get the books. We'll get the CDs. We'll get this off the ground. All our time and energy. We're not funded as traditional owners either. So we are fee for service. So writing a book or helping and reading drafts and that, we need to be paid for our time to survive, or we won't exist. And we were not successful with that grant.
Oh, wow.
We asked for $5,000.
$5,000,
Yeah.
and other people were successful, other things that had a First Nations perspective and weren't even traditional owner-led. It was horrible, absolutely devastated me. We mentioned it to the Borough of Queenscliff, the tiniest little shire council we have on Wadawurrung Country, the littlest, no hesitation, said we'll do it.
Wow.
And here we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea, to publish a picture book like this, so this is self-published, but when publishers do it, it costs them thousands. 5,000 does not even cover the printing. So what these guys were asking for is a drop in the ocean. You know, I mean, picture books don't traditionally, you're never going to get rich, you know, you do it for love. But, you know, something like this, to ask for $5,000, when you said that, I went, oh, and they turned you down for $5,000. Let's talk about something more beautiful.
Yeah, but it's just, it's really important for people to know, that.
Yeah, but it underlines, Corrina, that I don't know whether it's lack of value, lack of knowledge, I don't know what it is.
It was lack of stakeholder support was what we were told.
Oh, stakeholder, don't get me going on that word.
That was the response.
Okay. Right, we'll move on to something else. Picture books, of course, have illustrations in them. So you've got your words, you've got your music, you need an illustrator. Now, I'm pretty sure Corrina was able to find you a very good illustrator.
Actually, there's no conflict of interest here, okay? My son happens to do art and BJ, we're doing this book, we don't have any funding for it, very little actually, but you know how you scribble beautiful wahs and bunjuls and kunawaras? Can we have a couple of those for this book? And no hesitations at all. Then Kelly worked with him as well, and how we've put the book together.
Who
and
did
his
the colours?
Artwork
Was that
in the book as well.
the colour of the page? Was that BJ?
That was BJ. So all of the artworks by BJ, but the book itself was put together by our music producer Ben, who's also a whiz on the computer. So that was all his colour scheme ideas.
Because it's beautiful, particularly This page, I know you're a long way away, but
Yeah.
you know, it's in the library, you'll be able to buy it downstairs. Look at that, you know, the land and the country and the colours, it's just
And-
beautiful.
Yeah, they're all colours picked up from the colours that BJ had used in his artwork.
You'll be able to see, when you look at it properly, I'm being very respectful, each of the illustrations has colours within as well as the outline. It's exquisite.
And at the back, there's pages, that colouring in type pages that can be, you know, printed off for the children as
Yeah.
well.
And the songs, which you're going to hear later. So it's all in there. So, Ben, when you first saw the finished product, because there's for people who don't know, with picture books, there's dummy books, that's basically a draft. There's dummy books, there's tweaking, there's, oh, I don't know about that font, let's change that font. And it goes on and on and on. And you do get to the point where you go, this is never going to happen. And then finally, your first printed copy comes. Ben, when you got it, how did that affect you?
I was pretty proud of and humbled to be part of the process. I was really happy for Kel because she's been the driving force behind this. I've been Johnny come lately and wrote the songs, but
Hardly.
No, hardly.
no. Well, in all seriousness, it's a small part of what Kel's been working towards with this project. So but to actually hear the songs being sung by kids was, you know, and remembering them, not just my kids, but, you know, at schools, I've had that experience, and that's when it's like, wow, it's having an impact. So,
For you, Kelly?
Oh, absolutely delighted. Yeah, absolutely delighted. Really, because it's just a song's in your ears and it's in your brain, but to have something concrete to hold on to that you could, we could bring into the office and show Corrina slowly how the process sort of built, but to have something concrete that they could pick up and see their artwork, their language, it was really very proud moment.
And for you too, sharing with your children, but for you, Corrina, not that you wouldn't have shared it with your children, but your grandchildren, how was that?
Yeah, it's emotional actually. And it's not only, you know I talk about my grandchildren, but for Christmas we actually purchased a lot of these books. The corporation purchased these books and we sent one out to every Wadawurrung family as well. Wow. So all our families with children receive one of these books for Christmas, which is beautiful that they've got songs that is in their language and their identity, and that they can sing with their families and have playing in the car as well. Yeah, so it's been a beautiful resource of us being able to give back to our families as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What's next for it? It's out, and I know it's in quite a few schools. Kelly, what do you hope to do now with it?
We probably need to sit down with Corrina and talk about that.
There's more.
Yeah,
Good luck finding it.
The Queenscliff Borough would like to throw in a little bit more money. 10 is a good number for me, a nice round number, so it'd be great to have a few more songs, especially if you're asked to do a gig or something somewhere. The same 5 might just get a wee bit repetitive, so that might be a good thing maybe to go to 10. Yep. But I'm happy to, it'd just be a conversation that we'd have at some stage. I'd love to see, when we first had the idea, Corrina closed her eyes and she said, I'd love to see this book in every early years learning centre and in every primary school on Wadawurrung Country, and I think that would be a lovely day if that was to happen.
So how do we make that happen, Corrina? Because it's just so
We
beautiful.
keep telling them. we do, and it does come through, like the career education support officers that are going into the kinders and things like that. We run cultural education, and we're always talking about this and how this can be embedded in that as well. And everyone's looking for a resource like this. Everyone's wanting something. So for those that are here, make sure you go back and you let people know that this is here. It's on Songtimes, it's on iTunes as well. Very easy to access. But what's beautiful about this as well is we have Wadawurrung woman, Stephanie Skinner, and she does storytelling prior to each song. So not only
wow.
there's oral storytelling where you can have the kids be laying down and deeply listening to the oral stories that are told prior to each song as well.
But it lends itself to then art and dance, and there's so much within culture you could do. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely beautiful. Ben, what would you like to see happen with it?
I've just really enjoyed, like I've made new friends through this process with like Ben and Cal, and just that process alone has been a wonderful thing. Playing music with people is just obviously super enjoyable. So I'd love to write some more songs, but from a personal perspective, it's just given me a chance to engage so much more deeply with the Wadawurrung culture, and I've never had that in my life. So what an amazing opportunity. So I'm not going to say no to continue that, am I?
No. It's interesting. What I was going to say before when I got distracted, when you hear language and hear Corrina talk about language, like that little bit about Moolap, don't stop there, keep going, tell me more. You just want to, you become this voracious, I want to know, because it's so rich and so beautiful.
Yeah, now when our kids start asking those questions, it's amplified, isn't it? Like, it's amazing to see.
I heard a story, and I'm not sure who told it to me, but a child from Wadawurrung Country went to Rome. Was it you? I don't think it was you that told me this. You might have been there. So went to Rome with their parents, and they went to the Vatican, and they're going through the Vatican, and the guide's talking about, God, as you do when you see all the art in the Vatican. And this kid said, back home, we've got to create a god, and it's Bunjil. How good's that? Like, this is probably, I heard it probably 3 years ago, and I just went, yes. It's happening. Kids are starting to take it on and wanting to share it. And this is what your work's doing.
Yeah.
It's really important.
It would be wonderful if at a government level, of course there is merit in learning Japanese, Italian. Of course there's merit in learning those languages. It would be wonderful if there was recognition that there is also merit in learning the language of the land on which you live. And while you may not be a traditional owner of that land, learning that language is important because it helps in this situation to keep a language that is almost vanished alive.
Yep.
And that has to be done through the voices of both non-First Nations and First Nations people.
So, Corrina, how does that happen? Because I watch you running like a lunatic. You're one person, and I mean that in a loving way. You're stretched in so many different ways. Aboriginal people are 3% of Australia's population. How do we do that respectfully? Is that something we could do?
Yeah, but it's also about the self-determination of our own people. It's about helping, supporting and building traditional owners up and the traditional owner corporations and organisations, so we're able to meet the need that is out there, and it's empowering. It's the ownership for us to be able to have that rightful right to give back what's needed, and for that storytelling and sharing and that passing of knowledge. So there's many layers like that need to start with us. Often money and funding gets put everywhere around us, and then 2% of it will be used for a consultation, whereas a lot of it should be the other way around. It should be an example now. There's some funding just released for kindergartens to actually have First Nations languages be taught in kindergartens. And look, we're already doing it, but there is this funding. But it's gone out there for the kindergartens to apply. But we as Wadawurrung people, we don't know who's applying. We don't know what the organisation, who's going to be successful. So say we've had 20 kinders on Wadawurrung Country apply and 20 kinders are selected, we can't meet that demand. So we don't know, there's engagement, those protocols and things like that need to happen. It needs to be us going out there, like it should be us, okay, what kinders do you want to work with? and then we say we have the capacity to do this many, and these are who we want to do, instead of being the model that we're currently seeing, which we have to be reactive and try and meet a demand, and then when we don't, it's just really, really challenging. So systems have to change.
It seems it's what we, being a society, have always done. This is what we think's right. We'll do this, and then you'll just come for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very westernised.
very wrong way round. But anyway, now we are just about approaching question time. I've got plenty more questions for these guys, but I think especially, hearing them talk, they are far more interesting, and there will be questions that you want to ask rather than mine. So if you have a question, two things. One, pop your hand up and we will have, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Jackie? Jackie's got a microphone, and if Jackie doesn't see you, I'll direct Jackie to you. But just pop your hand up, wait for the mic, and that way then when it's being recorded, people will actually hear the question. It's nothing worse. I may or may not have been watching Collingwood's Craig McRae post-press conference, and you can never hear the questions. Not that I've got issues with Collingwood at all, but, just saying. So please wait for the microphone. Now, first question, who would like to ask something? Oh, beautiful, back row.
Yep, you're on.
Niatne?
Yes, gotcha.
First of all, my 3.5-year-old runs around the house singing, "I live on Wadawurrung land, I play on Wadawurrung land." And he wants to be barefoot on the ground, and he wants to be an Aboriginal, and it's really beautiful, so passing that along. And as a mother, I've been really, really deeply exploring the statement of take from the land what you can give back, and how striking that statement is. And I would like to know if that holds true as a philosophy from Wadawurrung land, because I think that comes from Auntie Joy Murphy, who's further north. But my question is on giving back, and as a mother, I'm thinking about that myself, with taking care of the land and being a caretaker for the land I live on, and role modelling that to my children. And I could speak more on that, but I was just curious from the Wadawurrung perspective, and weeding, planting, caring for the land, if you have anything specific to our local land that I could look into.
Yeah, well said. So we ask that you only leave your footprints. Part of being welcomed, you never left your country and land unless you're invited, and you're always a guest, and because much has changed now. But with that process, it was always protecting people and protecting country, and that's what the smoking ceremony is about. Protecting people is about smoking people so they're not bringing illness, but a really important one was smoking feet too, and we're seeing, if anyone's down the surf coast, what's happening with the grass trees, because diseases are coming in and killing off. But our cultural seasons and our law was important. Like, there were certain foods that only certain people could eat. You could only eat during certain times. So we have got a draft of a coastal seasonal calendar. For those that might hear me a lot, this has been a draft for some time, but there's so many projects happening. But that'll be really exciting. And COVID was a great example. It showed how many people just live with greed and privilege. Our law system wouldn't have allowed that. Our law systems, a fighting country, you eat this during this season and this during this season, only men and only women. Things like that is what sustained the food and sustained the resources on this land and country for thousands of years, because of that knowledge and that seasonal structure and those structural systems of law. And we don't have that today. Things like totems. Like, imagine if every child at birth was given a totem. My grandchildren have totems, and they are so strongly connected to that totem.
Corrina, can you just, sorry to interrupt,
yeah, so
with totems, how could you explain
so totems can work in every, family or areas can be different. It can be done in regards to like bloodline systems and things like that as well. how most of the time totems are given by something that keeps coming to you or returns to you while that baby's being carried or just after that baby's born, on that perspective. And for me, my first grandchild, it was Gunawara, the black swan. 3 really bizarre things happen with the black swan. And so her being a 6-year-old, she knows everything about the black swans. She knows right now they're on the wetlands and the nests are being built up. It's just, she cares and she nurtures. So if every child had a totem, they care, they nurture, they learn about it, they protect it. And totem, you didn't eat your totem food and things like that too. So, you know, things like that, for us, placentas being buried back on country for children as well is really important in significant places of that sense of belonging. And trees, you know, the trees on this country are the oldest living things on this country, and the oldest living generations. If we think of the bial, the red gum trees that still grow, we'll still find the grandmother tree that's hundreds of years old, and, you know, the generation's still growing around her. So, yeah, always tread lightly, be respectful, you know, have no greed, do no harm. And it's always about thousands of years Wadawurrung people have lived here. Thousands of years you need your families to be able to live here as well. Yeah. I hope that answered it. I tell big yarns, so
No,
I can never answer anything in 30 seconds.
No, that was great. It was beautiful. Another question. In the red up the front, pardon me pointing.
Hello, thank you so much for all of this. It's so exciting. So I'm currently training like early into being an early childhood educator, and then hopefully being like a 3-4 kinder teacher. So excited, kids are the best. But I don't really know how to like run, like how to teach the songs. Like still haven't done my placement yet, like really early. How would you guys recommend that as teachers and educators in your own right to do that well for these littlies?
Kelly, you can do that.
Well, there's a couple of different ways. You could make the song available on as many times as possible. So playing it regularly would be one thing. I maybe choose one word. So Ngā Mili would be a great place to start. So if you had, like with grade preps, trying to teach them the song, you might just teach them that word Ngā Mili. When we sing Ngā Mili, you're dancing. Yeah. Dance and Ngā Mili. And then you can just build on that. So it might be, okay, let's look at Ngā Mili again. Let's look at the first verse. I see you with my mia. You might do an activity around what your eyes are and the word mia. What does it look like? What does it look like when you're writing it? Make it in Play-Doh. Stick things on top of the word mia. Get a collection of eyes. Make mia. Make eyes. Get a collection of eye photographs. It's really just... you're as much an artist or a creative person when you're teaching children as you are in your everyday life. So just be as creative as you can, but it's just keep it simple. Just play the music. They'll pick it up. Half the time you'll play a song and they'll pick it up the first time you sing it to them, but you can dive into as deep as you like, really.
Just look how quickly, look how quickly they pick up a song you don't want them to learn for various reasons. It'll be fine, just play.
That's right.
Yeah, Ben.
Just to add, so I only started playing the ukulele just before COVID. My eldest daughter had a ukulele that we gave to her for her 6th birthday or something. And we were just before COVID travelling around Tassie, and we were practicing and trying to learn this ukulele. So all the songs in the book, fortuitously, if you've never played the ukulele, there's like 3 chords.
See, I didn't want to out you on that.
Actually, there's 4 chords. So C, G, D, and F, I believe. There's actually a couple of minor chords, but don't worry about that. But it's good fun to learn a new instrument. So they're actually quite easy. And that was a sort of, I'm not sure if that was deliberate. That was just the chords I had when I was writing the songs.
From a teacher's perspective, we tried to make it as simple as possible that you could have something that has the chords within it. So then if you're just an average middle-aged person trying to really get something on the table for some children, that you could maybe pick up a ukulele, or you could ask your dad to teach you, or your mother, or someone to teach you the chords on a guitar or a banjo or whatever it may be, so that it's accessible, so that there's no... excuses or no feeling like this is too hard. And I'm not a singer, so the first time we ever sung was at the launch of this album. So I had never sung in front of anyone before. The singing game was just entirely new. So I'm telling you, you can just have a crack at the odd chord and kids don't notice.
Cal's
Don't
just
know.
prepping the audience because
Don't-
both of us are in this.
We're free warning.
Look, I'll
now.
give you fair warning. You can leave before they sing if you like.
Can I just add to that as well? Yes, we've got Wadawurrung Songtimes, and like I said, that nah, because being that those first words that connect, like I said, my grandchild non-verbal picks it up. But also just look at normal songs and use the app. So row, 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 yinga, yinga, gently down you look. Change 2 songs in a normal song. Boo boo bunny, baby shark. But yeah, so go through the app and just, I say to early educators, they know these tunes, they know the melodies, pick 1 or 2 words off the app and replace it with a Wadawurrung word, and you know, that's an easy way to start too.
They pick it up so quickly. I've done in Bunurong with Auntie Faye. Well, clearly I don't do it. Auntie Faye does it. Head, shoulders, knees and toes. And I've done it with her 4 or 5 times and I'm still going, oh God, where are we? Head or toe? And the kids are just, they're in. They get it. So you'll be fine.
Sorry, Sue, one more thing.
No, don't be sorry.
Another good thing is if you incorporate it with the Auslan. So that just gives another anchor point. So it's like an acknowledgement of country if you wanted to do one. We live on, I haven't done it before. We live on Wadawurrung Ja. We play, I can't do it with my arms on a leather jacket. We play on Wadawurrung Ja. Every day we come to learn on Wadawurrung Ja. Nyatne Wadawurrung Ja. Nyatne Wadawurrung Ja. Nyatne Wadawurrung people for sharing your ja. But you could keep it just really simple. It might be Nyatne, like thank you. Yeah.
And there's even Auslan, I think it's deadly, which means good. I think it's that one for deadly. But yeah.
And the song, which I haven't pointed out, the lyrics do have the chords on them. So that's, I'm holding it up to show you, but you won't be able to see it from there, but it's there. Now, did you have a question in the front row? Thank you.
Thank you. I was interested, Kelly, in your work in a school setting and the progression in terms of curriculum. You talked about coming into a school setting and teaching a sort of specialist subject and getting that up running. I'm interested to know more about the progression of that work thereafter and how you've seen First Nations perspectives and cultures incorporated and integrated into the wider school setting.
Yep. Okay. So it's a gradual process, and I think it's really important to realise that in no school, and it's quite a Western way of looking at it, we design an approach and then we just dump it in lots of different places. So you can't do that. Different Aboriginal groups have different languages and cultural considerations and all that sort of stuff, and you can't just sort of dump an approach. So it was a gradual thing, number one. So it started with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander curricular project. Then we started to interweave other things into it with the support of my CESO. So it was like we need to teach about the European settlement in Australia. What resources will we use for that? We'll look at, young Dark Emu or other First Nations authors that have written books that can support us to teach those things. So there have to be Wadawurrung specific stuff. If you're teaching on Wadawurrung Country, you need things to be specific to Wadawurrung Country. So you need to do walks on country and things to build your own knowledge and things like that. But the CESO or the Career Education Support Officer can help you with that. We developed a reconciliation action plan as a part of for the school, so that can help to. It basically gives you actions to work towards, and it can ground you in what you need to be doing and what's the most important thing. And the reconciliation action plan committee are a group of First Nations people that oversee that.
And there's a group called Nunwarri Gully, I think.
Yes, correct.
That are amazing.
Yeah.
They run that through schools and kindergartens, and they'll guide you all the way.
Yeah, and then there's of course other parts that are going to come into it as well, like current affairs is something that older children are really interested in, current affairs that are pertinent to First Nations people. So like newspaper articles, things like that, art. If you look in your curriculum, it's actually all sitting there.
Yeah.
It's just that non-First Nations people, I speak for myself, they're difficult. Sometimes just starting is really difficult, but the best place is actually just purchasing or finding material that you can trust, that is written by First Nations authors.
And I'm going to show you that as we wrap up now. So thank you for your questions. This is one of the books I've done with Auntie Faye Muir, and why I'm showing you it is because it's published by Mugaballa Books. And if you do, say you do sharing, and you go, oh, I don't know what country, where's Auntie Faye from? At the back of every Mugaballa book, it's got what country Auntie Faye's from. It'll tell you about her as well. So these, not just mine, Mugaballa, I just didn't have another book than mine there. Mugaballa books, you can use them in the classroom or use them with your children, and then you go the next step, wow, there's one called Smoking, it's one about Smoking Baby that is beautiful, but it's Darug. I don't think I did that properly, Corrina, but Darug, round the Blue Mountains. And what you then do is go, okay, let's find out from Wadawurrung people what happens with their smoking. Is it like this? Is it different? So use them as that stepping point, but always, would you agree, Corrina, always bring it back to Wadawurrung?
And it's also the visual, so having the language map, and when you're reading that book that says, Auntie Faye's from Wadawurrung Country, show on that map, this is we're here on Wadawurrung Country, this is Wadawurrung Country, and this story's about the people of Wadawurrung Country. So they are aware that more about people and their identity of belonging to places and that as well.
Beautiful. Thank you. Ben, Kelly and Corrina, thank you very much. I'm actually going to do a proper wrap-up at the end, but it's time for the non-singing amongst us, me, to leave the stage and hand it over to Ben and Kelly, and Corrina's going to stay too. So enjoy the performance, and I'll chat to you when we're done.
Thank you. This is Ben and Maddie. So Ben was the producer of our CD, as well as produced the book, really, as far as formatting and getting beautiful colours together, so he's very talented. Well done, Ben. So as we said earlier, I'm a primary school teacher and not a singer, really. So we do our very best, but this obviously is very nerve-wracking for me in particular. No, I always ask you guys, are you guys nervous? And you're like, oh, not really. I'm like, oh. So we'll do our very best. So the aim today is that you might be able to walk out of here at least knowing one Wadawurrung word. So if that's an aim for you, that would be great. So a good one that I think is a good one to start with is the word for heart. So darung. I wonder if that word is based around the sound that the heart makes. I don't know. Darung. So my heart is with you. I hope your heart is with us. So the first song we're going to sing for you is Bunjil's Birds. Oh, you okay? Sure. Yeah. Sure. Oh, hang on. I spoke for myself. Is that okay with you, Corrina? You okay with the photo? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Bunjil's Birds. We see little Portal with her colourful wings, but Angle's beak is so strong, used to scoop up things. Kawak sounds like he laughs when he sings. They're friends with Bunjil, they're friends with Bunjil, and they can fly, 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 fly. Yes, they can fly, 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 fly. No colours for the Wa with her feathers of black. Pawang used sticks to make the sky break and crack. Graceful Coonawarra carries babies on her back. They're friends with Bunjil, they're friends with Bunjil. Bunjil in the sky created the land, created the waters, the stars and sand. It's here for you, it's here for me, and we are friends with Bunjil. We can fly, 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 fly. I can fly, 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 fly. I can fly, 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 fly. Fly, 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 fly. Okay. We're now going to sing Collingwood Yal, which means let's walk together. And in this song you'll hear the word dilama, which means to embrace. So you can dilama yourself, or you can dilama the person sitting next to you if you wish.
As long as they want you to.
Yes, as long, yeah, there's consent issues around that. So Collingwood Yal, let's walk together. Collingwood Yal, Collingwood Yal, let's walk together. Collingwood Yal, Collingwood Yal, Collingwood Yal, let's walk together. Collingwood Yal, when we walk to school, Collingwood Yal, when we're walking homeward, Collingwood Yal, when we walk to school, Collingwood Yal, when we're walking homeward, Collingwood Yal, Collingwood Yal, Collingwood Yal, let's walk together, Collingwood Yal, I will hold your hand, let us walk together, we will dilama, Collingwood together, Collingwood and Yarl. Okay, Ben's had a blowout. Luckily it's just with the ukulele.
Got a bit of gaffer tape holding this thing up. That's working.
You're okay?
That's
Okay.
a traditional Wadawurrung way to put, I don't know.
Yeah.
So the next song we're going to sing is called Colours of Country, and the colours are incredibly difficult words to remember and pronounce. So Maranara, blue, Dungarabil is white, Werwarin is brown, Jaralabil is green, Wergabil is red, Dirkwarabil is black. How did I do, Corrina?
Yep.
Woo. And there's a high note in this one, so wish us luck.
Needless to say, this is probably our most challenging
Yeah.
one to
Yeah,
write.
hard work.
And teaching this one to children's quite a challenge as well.
Yeah, maybe just cut and paste around that word. It's tricky. When I wake up in the morning, I see the bilberry. I begin to dream about the fun I'll have today. I really like the moment when the Miri comes up smiling. What I like about the morning are the colours in the sky. Maranara, Dungarabil, blue and white together, sky's beautiful. Mix them together and what do you get? The colours of country. What I like about the daytime is to see the trees are swaying. I begin to dream about the birdies living there. I really like the moment when I climb to the top of the canopy and I get to gaze as far as my eyes can see. Werwarin and Jaralabil, brown and green together, growing in soil. Mix them together and what do you get? The colours of country. What I like about the evening is to see the campfire burning. I begin to dream about the stories we will tell. The coals are burning, I smell the fish are cooking. I love the feeling of being safe and warm. Wergabil, Dirkwarabil, red and black together, food on the grill. Mix them together and what do you get? The colours of country. So we've got a couple of kids because it sort of doesn't make sense to have songs aimed for children without children up here. So we've got some kids that might like to join in with this next one. If you want to come up, but if you change your mind, that's okay as well. So if you want to come up now, you can come up now. So we've got Clara and Maeve and Ollie and Marlo and Edward and Stella.
And I just wanted to say, recently we went and did a little gig, one of our famous gigs, at a kinder, Marlo's kinder, and we were kind of telling them all what the songs were about, and they were all going, I know. And then they all sang the songs louder than we did, so it was a testament to how quickly and amazingly the kids, learn the songs.
Okay, pick it up. So the song we're going to sing for you is called Our Backyard. backyard is bigger than we thought. It's got lots of things living in it. The bees buzz in the carob, yeah, it's got lots of things living in it. Our backyard is bigger than we thought. It's got lots of great things in it. The moonlight fall from the top of the trees, yeah, it's got lots of great things in it. Use your mirror to see all the beautiful things. Use your mirror to see all the beautiful things. Our backyard is bigger than we thought. It's got lots of things living in it. The boonoi grow in the sandy soil, yeah, it's got lots of things living in it. Our backyard is bigger than we thought. It's got lots of great things in it. The garung grow with their round blue leaves, yeah, it's got lots of great things in it. Use your mirror to see all the beautiful things. Use your mirror to see all the beautiful things. Our backyard is bigger than we thought. It's got lots of things living in it. The para's soft, yeah, under my toes. It's got lots of things living in it. Use your mirror to see all the beautiful things. Use your mirror to see all the beautiful things. My backyard, my backyard, my backyard, yeah, I'm in it. Woo! All right, and the last song we're going to sing for you is called Ngā Mili, the first song that was written. Ngā Mili means to dance in Wadawurrung language, so some words from this song are mia, see with my mia, wurng is your ear, hold your mana are your hands, and I feel you in my darung, in my heart. We walk with our jinang, not jilang, otherwise you're walking with your jelong. Jinang are your feet. We smile with our hurung, your mouth or your lips. And then there is your lok, your legs. You run with your lok and you fly with your tarak, your arms. So you could take... Oh, yeah. Is your mum, which is your bum. Don't go... We say to the kids, don't call your mum your mum. So your mum is your bottom. I see you with my mirror, I hear you with my wurng, I hold your mana, I feel you in my darung. Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili. We walk with our jinang, we smile with our wurung. I hold your mana, I feel you in my darung. Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili. Let's run with our lok, let's fly with our tarak, let's slide on your mum, let's have a happy mirbang. Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili. I see you with my mirror, I hear you with my wurng, I hold your mana, I feel you in my darung. Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili. We walk with our jinang, we smile with our wurung. I hold your mana, I feel you in my darung. Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili, Ngā Mili. Let's run with our lok, let's fly with our tarak, let's slide on your mum, let's have a happy mirbang. Ngā Mili,
Na mili, na mili, na mili.
Wow.
Round of applause for the kids.
And another round of applause for Maddie and Ben. And for our fabulous panellists, Kelly, Ben and Corrina. And a special thank you to Corrina, because it's not easy to be constantly asked to share your culture, and she does it in such an open, generous, beautiful way. So a special thank you to Corrina. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your questions. They were fabulous. Now, we're heading downstairs to the ground floor. Here you go again with my pronunciation. Kikerinik, to downstairs. There's the Bookbird have got a shop there. They've got a pop-up shop for the day, so you can buy books throughout the day, but you can get copies of Songtimes, and you can get it signed by the gang, and you can also ask us questions. So we'll be downstairs for a little while if you would like to come down and chat. So thank you. Today's been recorded. Please share it with friends and have another look again, because you pick up more and more the more you look and the more you learn. Thank you too to the technical crew who've been running around doing things. They're going to upload it. Don't look for it tonight. Give them a couple of days to get it up there. And finally, thank you to Geelong Regional Libraries for hosting this important event. Local Word's a fantastic event, and as a local writer, it's so wonderful to be involved and to see the fabulous things that Kaz and Gillian do and create for us to enjoy. So thank you for attending, Nutney, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.